Hey everyone, this is episode 1 of a series I'm starting on how I mix vocals. So this episode, we're going to be talking about how I like to make my vocals wide and almost ethereal. If you think of Joe, yes, the Joe from Stranger Things. I want to reiterate, this is not a video on how you should mix vocals. It's a video on how I do it as I'm learning to get better at processing vocals. So here we are in Logic, and this is what I'm using just because it's most comfortable for me, but this can apply to any DAW you want, DAW being a digital audio workstation. So here we have a track of raw vocals. And when I'm back in Chicago, I feel it. Another version of me, I was in it. I know what you're thinking, my voice is angelic, thank you. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna make it even more angelic, is process. Now you might be thinking, Caden, what the f does process mean? Process is basically just a fancy term for mix. So we're gonna mix these vocals. So we got these vocals, and for time's sake, I'm just gonna show you the chain that I already have set up. To start out, I did Autotune on my voice just through Logic with the flex pitch. I am a professional singer, obviously, and I still sometimes have some trouble. So, we can't all be perfect. So I just did some quick fixes with the flex pitch, and then what I did is I went in here with Autotune. It's just this free version of Autotune, or maybe it was like $2, I don't know. It's this version of Autotune called Autotune Access, very cheap, and basically it's just a very, very basic Autotune plugin that you can use. So I added that. Moving on, I added some EQ on here, some pretty basic EQ. I like to start out with just kind of, I call it negative EQ, and I'm just taking away some of the muddy parts, some of the hissing, some of the just yucky parts out of the vocals that I don't like. So that'll just make it easier in the long run to make these vocals sound a little bit better. So this is the version of EQ that Logic has. Pretty easy. As you can see, I took out some stuff in the 250 hertz range, a little bit in 845, a little bit more in 4000, and then I actually raised it up a little bit here. And you can see I also took out some of everything in 18,000. And what I like doing that, I like doing that because I actually don't really super like that sizzle at the top, just like at that very top. I've actually noticed that's something that Teletronix does, which is really interesting. Anyways, so that's what we did with the EQ, and then I added some compression. This is my compressor that I just bought. It was actually on sale. I don't usually buy UAD stuff because it's so expensive, but this one was, I don't know, I think it was like $5, honestly. And it's a beautiful compressor. It's really great. Honestly, you could totally just use the presets. That's kind of what I do, and then I just tweak them from there. But so I just used a simple compression, just taking those highs and the lows of the dynamic range and squashing them just a little bit. After the compression, I added another EQ. This is a console EQ. This is just Logic's EQ plugin, console EQ. And what I did is I basically just took out the boomy and muddy parts that I didn't like after I added the compression. Not really super scientific. This is really just adding some clarity. I took out about 60 hertz down below, and then I took about 700 hertz in the mid-range. And so what that does is that just basically adds clarity. Right, so these first 3 plugins that we're using, it's just to add clarity. That's all we're doing, because when you start recording raw vocals into a mic, it's gonna sound a little muffly. And what we're doing here is just kind of taking away all those muddy parts and adding some sizzle and some color in order to make it more clear. And this all is a gateway into our next plugin. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is what you've been waiting for. This is the sauce. Right, the sauce is the saturation, in my opinion. The sauce is the saturation. This is ChromaGlow Logic Saturator plugin. And honestly, I think it's a really cool plugin. I think they did a pretty good job. A lot of what I do in here is just use the presets and then I kind of tweak them because I think it's a little bit easier. It kind of gives you a sense into different sounds you could have, and then you can kind of make it your own. So what I've done is, the drive used to be at 100, but I took it down. I took the mix down. The bypass is at 1500, yes, 1500. So I'm not really going to go into this. If you want, you can totally just copy this. It's up to you. I'm not really here to explain each plugin, but this is what I did. And so this is what it sounds like after the saturator. And when I'm back in Chicago, I feel it. Another version of me, I was in it. Okay, so that sounds pretty good, right? That sounds a lot better. Now I'm going to move on to what I think makes these vocals ethereal, as I mentioned going into this video, is the reverb and the delay. So this is the effects and the parallel processing that we're going to do. So we're going to move on to our buses over here. And as you can see, I have a couple aux tracks. These aux tracks are connected to buses in my vocal chain. So as you can see, what I've done is I've created a separate aux track for reverb and a separate aux track for delay. And we're going to work with parallel processing. If you want to know what parallel processing is, I guess I can just do a quick explanation. It's basically taking the original vocal sound and creating a copy of it and adding whatever effects you have. So it's not putting it straight on that track. And it's kind of nice because then you can just put however much you want. And it's a little easier to manipulate. So what I've done here is added compressor to a reverb track, side chain to the vocals. I know. Caden, why would you put a compressor on a reverb track? Well, thank you for asking. I put a compressor here because what it does is when I sidechain it to the vocals, it actually makes the reverb pop out just a little bit more because the compressor is triggered whenever the vocals are detected. I honestly don't really know how the science works, and I don't really want to explain it right now. So if you want that, I can totally do a different video on it, but I really just experiment with until it sounds good. So there you go. Now I have reverb. This is Rverb from Waves. It's nothing special, but because we're trying to get a specific ethereal sound, we do want a heavier reverb. So this is what the vocals sound like after the reverb has been added. And when I'm back in Chicago, I feel it. Another version of me, I was in it. Okay, now you can see I've added another aux track with delay on it. I'm using stereo delay here, which is just a stock Logic plugin. It's actually a really good plugin. I like using this when you're trying to get more of a wide sound in your delay. And what I've put here is I've put the right delay at about, what is that, 1/16 triplet. And it's not mathematical. I just do it until it sounds good. But what I've done is I've taken out one side completely. I've taken out this left side, I guess not completely, but I added a little bit, but it's mostly going through the right side, and that's something that Joe does. That's kind of who we're trying to emulate here. At the end of this video, I'm going to basically show what I've done, and I did basically a cover of one of Joe's songs, and we're gonna see how it sounds with everything that we've done. So yeah, something that he does is he kind of adds this really slight delay that is definitely noticeable, but not too crazy. But he does it a lot where he puts it on like one side. So I put it on the right ear just because that's what I liked. And this isn't a normal practice. It's not something that you should do every time, but I just experiment until I like the sound of things. So this is basically everything added. This is what this test vocal sounds like. And when I'm back in Chicago, I feel it. Another version of me, I was in it. Oh my God! Wow! So I think it sounds a lot better. It definitely is a little heavier on the reverb. And so what I tell people is that it's actually going to sound a lot different once you add the instrumentals. So what I've done here is I've actually recorded, just off camera, I've recorded 4 different tracks. These are basically me trying to recreate the vocals from End of Beginning by Joe. So I have a main vocal here, a higher main vocal, and then 2 harmony vocals, a lower harmony and a higher harmony. And then what I did is I took this AI, online free AI app, and I just separated the instrumentals from the track. And so this isn't the original track. You can go and listen to the original song yourself and compare them. But I'm just gonna show what it sounds like here. I think it sounds pretty good. So this is what it sounds like after I've added all my vocals and tried to create a cover of Joe.
And when I'm back in Chicago, I feel another version of me. I wasn't real.
So yeah, I think that sounds pretty good. Honestly, I'm actually pretty proud of that. So this is just my process. It's going to be different for everyone. I know I didn't go too in depth on how each plugin works. If you want a video on that, I can definitely do that. Just let me know. Most of them are Logic stock plugins, and they're pretty easy to use. But I'm totally down to do a video on that if it's helpful. Hopefully this was helpful and somewhat entertaining. It was pretty fun to make. So I'd love to try to do it again and make this a series. So if you want to show your appreciation and let me know what you thought of the video, just like and subscribe, do all those things, comment. I love to hear feedback. This is my first video, so I want to know how I can make things a little better. I'm hoping to make this a series, so thanks for watching, and let me know what you think.